So tell me, Steve, have you ever gone from holding umbrellas in the hot sun to interviewing Valentino Rossi?
No.
No, me neither. But this week, our very special guest has. So
She certainly has.
we are about to dive into a conversation with Amy Reynolds, previously Amy Dargan.
I think that's how you pronounce it, yep.
Yeah, of Dorna, Fox Sport, and all-round MotoGP fame, I guess.
Aye.
But we'll dive in, I guess, and let her discuss it more than, or describe her job more than I can do right now. So I'm Tim, he's Steve. This is For the Love of MotoGP. Enjoy this interview. Hi, Amy. How are you doing?
Really good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for joining us today. And can you just let us know where you are at the moment?
So I've arrived in Barcelona a few hours ago, and so I'm currently in my hotel room.
Ready to stare at the walls again and not be allowed to leave.
True, very true. Apart from the circuit, so a couple of days off, and then we'll be back to it again.
Fair enough. And for those of our listeners who may not have heard of you, would you mind just introducing yourself and telling us what it is you do?
So I'm Amy Reynolds, previously Amy Dargan, as of a couple of months ago, and I work for Dorna, who are the rights holders, and I also work for Fox Sports. So I do a bit of both over the weekend.
Okay, fantastic. And how is it you came to get into this work?
So before I was working for MotoGP, I was actually the pit lane reporter for what's now called MXGP, but in the back in the day it was called the FIM World Motocross Championship. Mm-hmm. And I essentially got kind of headhunted in my final year there. I got invited to Silverstone, and then we just got chatting, and they essentially created a role for me. So I was really, really lucky. I'd been in the paddock loads of times before. I used to work as a grid girl when I was at university, and I used to work for Monster Energy, and that was how essentially I got my first gig as a pit lane reporter. I was there working as a Monster Energy girl, studying broadcast journalism and specialising in sports, and their pit lane reporter at the time decided to move to the States and marry an American rider. So it opened up a little window of opportunity for me, and I was there for, I think, 3 years, and then like I say, I've been in MotoGP now for 6 years.
Awesome. Oh, that's fantastic. So we've heard a lot in the past, actually. I didn't realise you were a grid girl at one point, and there's been a lot of talk about how the idea of grid girls is quite misogynistic, and there is issues behind that. But a lot of people have used the argument that it does help people get into the sport, and like I say, that's the route you've taken. Is it quite a common route for women to get into the sport that way? And do you see a lot of women coming through as grid girls and then going on into other roles?
I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think off the top of my head if I know anybody that has been there and done grid girls and then moved on to another role in the paddock. And I think everybody has their own little way in as such, okay, whether that be through a brother that's racing. I think it's really, really varied. I can't look back on my time as a grid girl with anything but kind of fond memories, just because it's how I met my husband, it's how I met most of my best friends. Obviously, I got my first gig from being there, and for me it was just a way of financing my studies at the time when I was at university, and plus kind of meeting the people that you need to meet in order to kind of get a foot in the paddock. So I do understand the arguments both for and against. Obviously this year we don't have any grid girls with us, and it's not been something, I guess I've heard at least, that the punters have been, oh no, it's not the same without the girls there. But also I'm still on the fence about the whole thing, to be honest with you, because I strongly believe that we have to start showing girls when they're younger that there's more than stereotypical roles out there for them. And I've done some work with companies in the past, like they're not called Dare to Be Different anymore, but it was Susie Wolf's initiative. Just kind of show them that there's all sorts of jobs out there, not just your press officers or media roles or in front of television roles. There's all sorts of things out there that are accessible for both boys and girls. But I think we're moving more towards it. There's like so many more data engineers and technicians that are female in the paddock now than there ever have been. So the numbers are definitely starting to equal.
Yeah, it's going in the right direction over time.
Yeah.
Hopefully it won't be too long until we see some women riding on the grid again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think obviously we've still got Maria Herrera, who's riding in Moto E with us now. Yeah. And then Anna Carrasco left the Moto3 World Championship years ago now, has gone on to have so much success.
Yeah, certainly.
It's all about kind of getting girls into the sport from a younger age. I think that's really the key. It's not a case of, I mean, like it's difficult to get into the World Championship now for both boys and girls.
Yeah.
It's not just purely down to your sex. I think it's just more about getting more girls interested from a younger age and maintaining that interest. I think that's a big thing. Is like, I know personally when I was getting into my teenage years, all of the things that I put so much energy into in terms of sports, I suddenly decided to drop and follow different interests, so to speak, and then really regretted it as I got a bit older, because I was like, I used to be so good at that. Why did I ever stop doing that?
Yeah,
I think that's what it is. It's just kind of trying to like keep girls involved for as long as possible.
Yeah, I always think part of it as well, at least from the way I haven't got kids or anything, so I guess this is just an outsider's point of view, but it seems to me as well, you need a parent to be almost pushing you in that direction and helping to encourage. And I think it's probably very hard for parents, or probably easier for parents to push young boys in that direction as opposed to young girls, just because, again, that's what parents are seeing on TV. That's the people they're seeing being successful.
I think as well, like with girls, you tend to have different types of role models other than athletes that start to factor in.
Yeah.
Whereas I think boys still idolize up until they're kind of like teenage years and into their teenage years, primarily sportsmen and athletes.
Yeah.
So we have amazing female athletes now, and with social media, there's so much more access to them. So I hope that things will start to change.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. With it, like you say, with everything at everyone's fingertips now, the route in, just seeing it as well, it just makes such a difference. If you could just have it in your hand on your social media and just look, and just that encouragement in your face all the time, there's so much more of a push to go out and actually pursue what you want to do. Whereas before, like Tim said, you're completely reliant on being almost shown the way.
Yeah.
And now you're free to look, you're free to make more choices from a younger age and just pursue that path. So like you say, with any luck, before too long, we'll see lots more younger people showing more interest earlier and then pursuing that love for motorsport in general and just coming through. I'm sure it's happening already. I'm sure there's kids out there that are just like idolizing riders, and just not even riders, team managers as well. There's people in the paddock, and just they'll hopefully just follow that passion right through.
I think now there's a lot more visibility of all of the roles. I think traditionally you would only see, like I said, like the in front of camera roles, but nowadays with social media, there's all of a sudden so much visibility to how many different roles there are in our sport. So I think that's like obviously like a massive benefit.
Absolutely. Definitely.
Yeah. So in your time working within the MotoGP paddock, what are your most memorable, and we'll go for best and worst moments here?
Okay. In the paddock?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So memorable moments are obviously things like, the first time I did my first sit down with Valentino, because you build that up in your head and psych yourself up to it so much. that when it finally happened, you're like, oh my God, okay, don't absolutely blow this one. And I'm trying to think. This is the problem when you're so used to asking the questions, you're actually so terrible at answering questions. Especially when it comes to my long-term memory is shocking. My short-term memory is amazing, but my long-term memory has completely gone. So I'm trying to think best moments. There's been so many. There's so many times you pinch yourself and go, oh my God. Even like recently I started to do the grids, and I'd grown up watching like Susie Perry when she used to do the grids. And she'd do those like long continuous ones, which weirdly you don't get so often anymore. I know that BBC still do their cool grids with Neil and stuff, but I just recently started to do MotoGP grids, and you get such a buzz of adrenaline, like running around trying to find who you're talking to and jumping in talking to the riders. So that, like, for me at the moment is it's like my favorite time of the weekend.
Oh, but
I love it. And then worst moments, I think it's just fresh in my memory because we've just left Misano. But obviously, the day that we found out that Nicky Hayden had passed away, and it's obviously the part and parcel of our sport, but with there being like a bit more of a personal connection there with his fiance, it's still to this day kind of really hurts. It's just obviously like a horrible side of our sport that is why we respect them so much.
Absolutely. I'm trying to think what year it was. 2013. I was lucky enough to meet Nicky at Silverstone. Just walking behind the paddock, everyone was waiting to get Valentino's autograph, and just a few trailers down, there was Nicky Hayden just sat around a little white picnic table with some of his friends, just having a chat with anyone that walked past the fence. Great bloke.
Such a nice guy, such an amazing smile, and his fiance equally is just such a gorgeous person. Weirdly, she had my wedding ring until June. It was the weirdest thing, but she was meant to bring. I had my wedding ring from California, and she was meant to bring it to Austin, and we were going to go for dinner, and she was going to give me the ring, and then obviously Austin got cancelled, and she always comes over for his anniversary to Europe. So we're like, okay, we'll see how this whole pandemic thing, pans out, like thinking it might just wash over, which obviously it absolutely did not. And then in June, I was like, Jack, it's getting pretty close. What do we do? And she's like, shall we UPS it? I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's hope for the best. But yeah, no, she's golden. Such a good girl.
Good stuff. And I assume the ring made it over to you okay?
It did. It really did. I was so nervous. It only took about 6 days, but it was definitely like bad. Every day I was like, come on, please.
Yeah, exactly. I think I just spent 6 days chewing my fingernails.
I said to you.
Where's the postman? Come on. So where was her husband's ring? Was that at home? Was that one of his friends?
I feel really bad, but we both bought our own rings. So I bought my ring and he bought his. So and then obviously he did the classic bloke thing, which he left it until the month before. And I was like, nice. You have to actually order it, and it takes time to be made. So I would hurry up.
See, that would definitely be me, because I, until this moment, just assumed all rings came out of catalogues. I didn't realise you actually had to wait for them to be made. So it shows how much I know about the real world, doesn't it?
Mate, poor Cherie.
I'm surprised he's kept it on. I honestly thought it would probably last for all of a few days, but he's been riding, so their events are all back up now as well, and every time I've seen him, he's still got the ring on. He's like, oh yeah, it fits under my glove really well, and I was like, oh my god, I thought this was going to be a real flash in the pan. Impressive.
Not round the neck on a necklace yet, and just
oh no, I thought it'd be left somewhere. I was like, for sure, first stop he makes, it's going to be lost.
You really didn't have much faith.
Oh, I know. I literally gave him a budget because I was like, there's no point you spending much on yours because you're going to keep it for all of a couple of weeks, and you will have lost it. The amount of times you lose your wallet.
See, now, to me, that would be like a challenge. Be like, right, I'm keeping this. That is going nowhere. Got this. Bless him. And what racing is he? Is it he does? Is it?
He's a freestyle mountain biker.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's pretty good at jumping mountain bikes over big things.
Yeah, I've literally just looked at some videos of this, and it's pretty terrifying.
He is like essentially the real life Superman.
I've seen some like footage of freestyle mountain biking, and it terrifies me. Absolutely terrifies me.
You've not got an engine to like get you out of trouble. Like, you undershoot or overshoot, it's pretty much, well, yeah, that's it.
I'm quite happy on a motorbike.
Yeah, this is quite. I'm going to have to stop watching those videos because I'm going to have to stop talking. Otherwise, I'm just looking at thumbnails and like just in awe here, my jaws on the floor. Just watching. I think it was an old canyon run from 2015 that was quite spectacular.
Oh, that would have been. Is that Red Bull Rampage?
Yes.
Yeah, that was quite gnarly. That's Red Bull Rampage as well. Always falls at such a bad time of year for us because he's over in Utah. And then we're always in Japan / Australia. So there's at least a 16-hour time difference. And the 2 years that he did it, I just remember being on such tender hooks, like sometimes having like 2 hours sleep and then turning up in the paddock and be like, I am spent. But it was because I just wanted to make sure he got through all of his runs okay. And yeah, it was, I can't decide whether I prefer not to be there or be there.
I think I'd have to be there just for that certainty, just so you know. I think the sort of the not knowing would keep me, like you say, keep you up all night, and just I'd be pacing until I knew, right, it's over, you're safe, good, happy days, sleep.
I quite like the fact that I don't have to watch anymore because I like it. Yeah, it's terrifying. That particular event is. I mean, he has his own event called Dart Fest in South Africa every year at the start of the year. And like those jumps are like 90 footers, and like he builds the craziest course. But I kind of like have a bit more faith because I know that he's built it, and he wouldn't build anything he didn't think he couldn't ride. Apart from a couple of years ago when he smashed up his wrist. Nice. But yeah, it's he's pretty. Yeah, he's cool. He's a cool guy.
He's a cool guy.
He must have been. He married him.
So I guess you guys, if he's off and about doing that, and you're off on the paddock a lot, and with the MotoGP grid around there, do you actually get much chance to see each other, or is it just the odd weekends here and there and grab time when you can?
During the season, it's pretty difficult. Like we're on a bit of a run right now where by the time we actually see each other, it'll be 8 weeks and 4 days. But I have to say that's not like a normal amount of time. That's like a combination of both of us are on quite tight schedules because everybody's trying to make up for lost time with lockdown.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's quite a few 6 weeks that happen because we just are passing ships. Like right now he got home last night, but by the time I get back home after Catalunya, he would have already left again.
Okay.
So it's normally that kind of situation, but we're pretty well practiced in it now.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's just part and parcel of it, isn't it? I guess it's been similar to that the whole time you've known each other, I'd guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It's genuinely, at least we actually live in the same house now.
That's always a plus, yeah. So with it, obviously the current situation being what it is with the lockdowns and everything, like how has that affected the whole GP weekend for you? How does the changes look? Is there anything that's been improved this way? Do you think things are running smoother, or is it all just like, let's have it back to normal how it was?
It's so weird because obviously on Sunday, when you go to a Sunday, you do miss that bit of extra atmosphere when it comes to not having the fans there. In Misano, we had like a limited amount of fans, but because it is such limited numbers, there was some atmosphere, but it's not anything as close to what you would normally get on a Sunday. But essentially, because they've had to minimize the amount of people that are in the paddock, which means they had to kind of come up with a whole different approach to getting everything done that needs to be done over the weekend. In some weird ways, it's made certain jobs a lot easier. Now we have essentially like a TV set where all of the riders come to you, whereas before I would genuinely walk about 18,000 steps a day, and that was just running from hospitality to boxes to like all sides of the paddock just to try and grab interviews. You have like a mad couple of hours where every rider has his debrief, and you genuinely sometimes are running. And so that part has obviously been made a lot easier, and the fact that there's just less people in the paddock. So nowadays, rather than waiting for 4 hours to go to the toilet, you can actually quickly nip and have a little toilet break in between the sessions, but it would never normally happen because you wouldn't risk it. So in some ways, it's helped our jobs, but you lose so much by not having the atmosphere there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's strange enough for us to sit at home just watching everything on the TV. And I would say there was a few fans at Misano this weekend, but like when the races first started, again, just seeing the empty grandstands was just strange enough here.
Yeah.
It must have been so bizarre, like when the first race happened again, just coming back and there's no one there, just a few people walking down the pit lane and in the paddock. I can only imagine how sort of strange it must have felt.
I think Andrea Dovizioso said, like, when he had his win in Austria, when he came to do like the cool down lap, he said it was a bit of an anticlimax because he won this race, but there wasn't that whole reason to kind of really milk it to the crowds as he came.
Yeah.
And then it was a bit like, oh, okay, that's fine.
I've won. Put the trophy in the cabinet.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a weird old time we're living in, and especially even like, you know, the amount of times we have to get PCR tests, which no matter how many times you have them, are still a bit like, oh God, here we go, close your eyes.
Yeah.
But,
so have you got to have another test now that you've moved on to Barcelona? Have you got to have another test for this weekend?
Yeah. I'm going to go have my PCR test tomorrow, so you have to have one every single week.
Oh, yeah, nice. Don't envy you.
But at least we get to be allowed into the paddock, so
that is true.
Like
That's
4
true.
seconds of discomfort for 4 days of pure MotoGP joy.
Yeah. See, when you put it that way, the trade-off really does sound worth it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
we're all safe sat at home watching it on the telly, and as you guys tested, yeah, I'd rather be tested, I think, than allowed in the paddock.
So do Dorna pay for all your tests, or do you guys have to pay for them yourselves as part of the being allowed in?
No, they cover everything.
Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's all good. And you mentioned how Dovi felt like it was quite anticlimactic winning in Austria to no crowd. But we've had 4 brand new winners this year. When you've been speaking to any of those, have you got the impression that it wasn't quite what they expected as well?
No, I think for the first time winners, like, I mean, if we're talking about first time winners, it's, you know, it's such a special moment in their career. I don't think there's much that can take away from it. I mean, especially when it comes to a MotoGP win, a lot of these are like Moto3 championship winners like Brad Binder. And I think, I mean, they dream about that moment their entire lives up until that point. I don't think there's much that can spoil it. So from my side, just the emotion and everything you get is the same. The only downside I think that a couple of the guys have expressed is the fact that, you know, their families are not there, and people that they would want to share that win with, they're not going to be able to see, because obviously we're in the middle of a triple header. So I think that's like been the only tiny kind of bit that's taken away a little bit of something from that win. But ultimately, a win's a win, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fair. To us at home, a win looks the same whether there's a crowd there or not. So, and I guess the majority of people, no matter whether there's people in the stands or not, are watching from home, aren't they? So,
Yeah, it's. I mean, and also the adrenaline comes from the race as well. Like
Yeah.
they've just done 26 or 24 or 22 laps, however many laps, and a lot of the time those races have come down to the wire. Like Miguel Oliveira, I don't even know if he knew at the start of that final lap he was going to get that one.
Yeah.
So
It was an insane last corner. That was incredible.
I was going to say, even going into the last corner, I'm not sure he knew that one was about to happen.
it was brilliant.
Yeah, it was enough for me. I ended up jumping up in excitement, falling over my own chair, ended up in a heap on the floor, dragging myself up just to watch him cross the line. So, and that was just me sitting at, well, I was at work at the time, trying to be stealthy about watching the race.
Just sneaking a little bit of MotoGP in while you're at work, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like we didn't record an episode while you were at work.
Yes, we did do that. We recorded an episode with Gavin Emmett while I was hiding out in a back office somewhere.
Nice.
Yeah.
Don't know how you got away with that one with his loud voice.
I made sure I had my good headphones so there was no sound blasting out from there. So this season, like as we've seen, or we've just mentioned, it's been 4 brand new winners this year. We've had 7 races, 6 different winners. Like it's been bonkers and all gone just haywire. Is there anything we can put this down to? Is it one thing? Is it just because Marc Marquez isn't here? Is it the new tyres? Is it that everyone had time off because of lockdowns? Or is it just a combination of things that have created this amazing scenario we find ourselves in?
I think personally it's been a combination of everything. Obviously, you can't ignore the fact that Marc isn't here. And I mean, a lot of the riders have said that themselves. But I think then with Marc not being there, it's given them all a different incentive because
Absolutely.
This guy who has dominated at least the last couple of seasons that is not kind of in the picture. The victory is there, and then perhaps somebody that you would have naturally assumed would be the next in line to start being the guy that was going to clear off, Andrea Dovizioso. He like you said has had such a massive issue with getting his head around the new Michelin tires that he's not been there to pick up the pieces left from Marc. And then Fabio, who he took those 2 wins in Jerez, and we were all kind of expecting him to start clearing off, has then had a real tough 4 races from that. So I think it's been a real amalgamation of different factors. But I'm not going to complain.
No, certainly not. And while we're on, well, we've just mentioned Marc Marquez, and with him being away, is there a noticeable presence in the paddock isn't there? Like, is there a Marc Marquez shaped hole that and not just in press conferences, but across the board? Can you just feel that there's something different in the air with him not being there? Or is that just me putting like a nice romantic spin on it and how I imagine it?
I personally haven't felt like a massive like, oh yeah, but we're missing Marc for that one and we were missing Marc for that one. It's allowed a couple of other characters to come out. So for me, not personally, I know there's definitely people that have said like, Marc ups the level and he, pushes the other riders because he, pushes the pace and everybody has to kind of step their game up. But I've not felt that. But like we just keep on saying the same thing, but it's hard to ignore the fact that the races have just been so epic. There's been so much to talk about.
Yeah.
So it's not been like you've been twiddling your thumbs, like, oh my god, we've not had to talk about another Marc save. Do you know what I mean? Like there's been so many other things to talk about throughout the weekend, and such amazing performances like Pecco Bagnaia. He's still hobbling around, bless him, on crutches. So there's just been so many amazing stories and reasons to kind of like not feel that void, that for me personally, it will be great to have him back. And I'm sure he's going to come back and ruffle some feathers. But right now I've had a blast in 2020. It's been so good.
Yeah, and it does sort of feel like that if it had been, if like we say, Dovi had been there to pick up the pieces and had just gone on a tear and now won 6 or 7 on the bounce, it would feel quite dull, I think. But it feels like everyone has sort of stepped up, and just the situation being what it is has just made this championship just boil over into something that it's one of these championships, and it feels a bit like 2006. It's something we're going to be talking about for a long time going forwards.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I mean, we talk about Andrea Dovizioso, but I think also there was a slight worry inside of me that Fabio might be that guy as well after he won those 2 races in Jerez. And he is almost really comparable to Jorge Lorenzo, that when he gets in front, he just completely clears off.
Yeah.
And I had a bit of a stinking feeling of, oh, if every race is going to be like this, we've essentially just replaced Marc with Fabio.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been like that. So now we have this situation where you could hesitate a really strong guess of who's going to win, but nobody knows what's going to happen next week, let alone in Le Mans and Aragon and the races we've got left. And like Portimao is just going to be absolute mind bender.
That one is good. I cannot wait. Although it's the end of the season, we never want the end of the season to come unless it's like a showdown. I'm just looking forward to Portimao so much.
Someone like, I think it was Simon Crafar, who is our pit lane reporter. He's ridden around there, and has he ridden around there, or is he just telling me? He was like, literally, we're going to see MotoGP bikes fly.
Yeah, I've heard people say before that it's like there's such undulation and stuff that there might legitimately be a chance for bikes to be in the air at some point.
That would be scary.
Oh, I'm glad I'm watching.
Yeah, quite.
No pillion laps around Portimao.
No thanks.
Oh.
Yeah, and so from the outside, so you say you're sure Marc's going to come back and ruffle some feathers and things. I know there has been rumours flying about that maybe this is quite severe nerve damage and maybe he won't come back the rider he is. Are these conversations being had in the paddock, or are these just people on, we'll say, tabloid websites trying to get clicks, and it's a bit clickbaity on here?
I think there's perhaps a little bit more than it just purely being clickbait, only because he's not actually ridden a race since Valencia last year, because he didn't actually compete for the entire Jerez first race. So there's definitely one factor is he's not raced in such a long time. The second factor is like you said, although the extent of the injury is not completely known or understood, and also it's really difficult with things like that to know how well someone's going to recover, and I think I don't think he'll come back to a track where, like, I don't see him coming back at like a Le Mans. I think if he's going to come back, it'll come back at like a track he's really strong, like Aragon. But I don't think he's going to be the Marc Marquez that we're used to seeing straight away, at least.
Okay, and I feel like even if physically he is capable of that, he may realise that it's really not will realise that it's really not worth the risk of going out and just trying to get the odd win here. It's just build up to next season at this point, isn't it?
I think he'll probably come back with more of a like, let's mess a few people around.
Let's spoil a few people's dreams.
Yeah.
Oh, don't be starting those rumours again, Steve.
Oh, I bet not. No, I got trouble last time.
No.
Oh dear.
Yeah, and how has it been this year with having back-to-back races at the same circuit? Obviously, MotoGP's never done this before, and when we spoke to Gavin Emmett, again, while I was hiding out at work, he was saying he felt very sceptical about the idea. It just didn't feel like a Grand Prix event, like some of the magic would be removed. Have you felt this? Like, does it feel that way, or is it just that you're just at the same place twice?
I don't think I've looked into it as deeply as that. I think for me, it's been, I mean, from a really selfish point of view, it's quite nice not having to pack everything up and move again as you do normally with the triple header. Like, you're constantly on the move. You do get a little bit of a groundhog day feeling on the Friday and the Thursday, but then when qualifying starts and like the race starts on Sunday, it's still got all of those magic moments and things that kind of you don't even think that you're doing. It doesn't feel like, I don't know for you guys, but it doesn't feel as though I'm watching the same race twice.
No, for me, it
Definitely
certainly
not.
doesn't feel like that at all. It doesn't feel like we are watching the same race. And the only kind of time we get it is when it was Austria was a bit strange, just because it was 2 red flags back to back, so that felt a little weird. But apart from that, like, they've never felt like the same race twice. It's very much helped. I guess Jerez, with Fabio winning both, did give you that, oh no, is this what they're all going to be like feeling? But from then on, because every race has been so different.
Yeah, I personally have not felt literally the only thing is going in on a Friday, and I think the other part of that is that everybody ups their level on the second weekend. Everything gets like obviously first week in Misano was like the top 4 was a complete Yamaha lockout, and you were like, well, Yamaha are going to absolutely destroy everyone.
Yeah.
And then we got to the grid on Sunday and it was completely reshuffled, and the KTMs had made progress, and I think it's helping your manufacturers like your KTMs and your Aprilias and Suzuki's somewhat to almost kind of, and people like riders like Taka Nakagami, like every time we have a race, 2 races at the same circuit, the progress he makes is just ridiculous. Like, that guy just must study his data, and he must be so good at interpreting it and then putting it out actually into action on the track. Because every single weekend when we have a back-to-back, he is just so much more progressed than he was the week before. It's so impressive.
Yeah, he's definitely taken the time to do his homework and put it into use it to his advantage, because Honda at one point looked all at sea, and he has definitely been their sort of saviour so far this year.
At one point, you'd say. I feel like Alex Marquez definitely took a leaf out of his book this weekend as well, coming in and getting a 7th place finish or something. Felt pretty spectacular for Alex Marquez, actually.
And didn't he I think he topped warm up, and in FP4 he didn't do too badly either. Like, he did really good this weekend.
Yeah, it was quite nice actually to see him rising up, because he's come in with such. It's not even an expectation, I don't think, on Alex Marquez. I think people had set him up to fail. In everyone's minds, I think people were waiting for him to fail as such. It's very nice to see the fact that when it comes down to it, and Honda are really struggling, that he is capable of putting in these results and performing for them.
Well, he hadn't even been allowed to race even half a season before he was already replaced.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of, like it really kind of shows what Honda had expected of him. I really feel for Alex, actually, and he's such a lovely guy. And he's got a really difficult task of coming in as a MotoGP rookie and trying to ride a bike that Cal Crutchlow, who's got so much experience, and even he can't, get around it. So he's got a real hard task.
That's it. And that's taking away the fact that his surname is Marquez, so that's already setting him up.
That's like mentioning that part.
Yeah, that carries a certain bit of weight and expectation with it as well, poor fella. But he's coming good, hopefully.
He is, certainly, yeah. Although on that, with him obviously being replaced half a year in, do we think, and I don't know if I've read this anywhere at all, but was this Honda's plan? Was he just supposed to be in there for a year until they could get someone out of contract and then drop him to LCR? Or do we think this is something this was just decided this year?
I don't know. I think everything was made, there was such a rushed decision when Jorge Lorenzo announced at Valencia he was going to retire. Even though Alberto Puig said that Jorge had come and spoken to him about it, a few weeks before, it wasn't a huge shock to them. It did leave them completely out in the sticks a little bit, because they suddenly needed to find a replacement rider, and traditionally that rider's always been filled by a rider that could, or was meant to, help Marc win the championship, essentially.
Yeah.
And so I don't think Alex Marquez would have been their first choice, but I think the fact that Marc obviously knew he was going to sign this 4 year, well, he didn't obviously know, but that's me speculating. Like, they had had an idea in mind that he was going to sign like a longer term contract, and he's got so much sway and influence in that team. I think that perhaps Marc might have had something to say about who his replacement was. And at the time, was it Johann Zarco was also in the picture as potentially replacing him? And whilst, yeah, he'd had a couple of good wild cards, it was like not really 100% clear that he was going to be able to do any better. So I think it was like they had their hands forced a little bit with Alex. I think they knew from the get-go he was going to have quite a hard time. So I'm relieved to see him starting to make some headway on it.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Right, so we will, again, I'm conscious of taking up too much of your time, so I'll just run off with 2 quick questions and then we will let you disappear.
Oh, thank you.
First one, and this is a selfish question on my part because my MotoGP fantasy squad sucks this year. And
mine too.
Nothing. Well, you're supposed to be the professional here that's going to help tell me who I should move into my squad for this weekend.
But how the hell are you meant to know based on this year? Because everything you like, it blows up in your face every single week.
That's exactly. I moved Yamaha in for this reason.
Leading this championship when he's finished 7th and 8th.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I don't know. It's so who should you move in for Catalonia? Okay, I think that who am I going to move into mine? Like, I'm going to go with Joan Mir. If he's not already in there, I'm sure he already is.
To be honest, he is the one I moved in just before we started this call, and I thought I would just check with you here and see whether that was a good move.
I think so. I can see the Suzuki should do well in Catalonia.
Quite lucky. I've had him for a few races, so I'm quite happy with that.
So have I.
Yeah. This is why you guys are outperforming me.
I was going to have a quick look and see where you are in our little league, mate.
I'm doing very badly in ours, mate. I wouldn't worry about it. And then our final question, and maybe an even bigger one. If you were to walk into a bookies today, who would you put your money on for this championship?
Joan Mir.
Oh, that was quick and easy.
Yeah.
Only because I had to answer that question the other day, and it's been like a round table discussion for the last couple of weeks, and I just think Maverick, I'm so glad he got that monkey up his back, but going by the rest of the season, I don't know, I can't put all my eggs in his basket. Andrea Dovizioso, I'd absolutely love to see him win it, especially if this is going to be his final year. I'd love to see him win it, but again, like going on the last couple of results, and you wouldn't put your eggs in his basket.
Yeah.
I think at the start of the season, Alex Rins would have been a name, but I think that shoulder injury is a bit more complex than we all.
Yeah, I think there's more to that one that was let on. That's still there for sure.
They're so tricky. They're so tricky. And yeah, Fabio is just not looked that confident, full package self that he started off in Jerez. It's kind of all crumbled recently. So I'm going to go right now. My gut instinct is go with Joan.
That's exactly what we said before we started. Yeah. I think a lot of people, I'm sure, are going to start looking at Mir and thinking he's got a real chance now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think good bet. Go with that one as well.
But knowing this season, we'll get to Catalonia and Mir will be finishing in 11th, and we'll see Dovi, Quartararo, and Vinales all fighting for the podium.
Quite possibly.
You just cannot script this season. We're going to go into this weekend and we're just all going to have like open mouths, jaws dropped, just watching something completely different than what any of us expected.
Imagine if you'd written some of the headlines from this year in February. Everybody would genuinely send you like out of the room. They're like, get out. It's ridiculous. That's not a game. Like that, you're just being ridiculous. None of those things are going to come true.
That's it.
Exactly. It's what I think we said this a couple of podcasts ago that we made. What this season had the potential to be so bad with all the restrictions, everything that's happened this year. But I think we've got one of the best seasons we've had for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's got the potential to get so much better yet. I can't wait. It's great.
You sound speechless.
I've been a fanboy for 20 plus years of just MotoGP, and all of this year has just left me gobsmacked. I love it. I think it's absolutely brilliant this year. And just, yeah, I'm just wishing the weeks away till we get another race weekend.
Well, luckily, thick and fast at the moment, mate.
I know. I go into a Monday morning, I'm like, oh, come on, Friday.
I actually don't know how, like, at the end of the season normally you get kind of like quite almost like a come down. It feels like you've gone away to like summer camp, and then it comes to the end of it and you just like have such a bag of like tiredness, emotion, and just then you have to readjust to being at home and all of that stuff. I feel like this year is going to be just ridiculous. I think it's going to be the emotion of whatever the result of the championship is. I don't know whether anyone will be able to. I don't think we'll have a full picture of what's going to happen next year, even maybe by the end of this season, because it's just such a changing situation. It's going to be one hell of a final race. I think everyone's going to go for it so hard. Like there'll be so many persons championships on the line. I think Portimao is going to be fireworks.
Definitely. We might have to make our way down to Portugal, mate.
I don't know. Is there any talk of having people in and spectators in to Portimao? I don't know how to say it. I've heard lots of different ways, but into the Portugal track.
Portimao, I don't know. I keep on saying Portimao, but I feel like I would have said something different a few months ago. I think because I keep on seeing it written down, so I'm like, Portimao. I don't know. I really don't know. This is the one area I'm a real bad person to talk to, because I don't read too many of those kind of like headlines.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Fair enough. We'll wait and see then.
Miguel Oliveira's fans are praying.
Yeah, I'm sure they are at the moment.
Oh god, yeah, I forgot that's going to be his home race. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, even more excited now.
Quite a special one for him, especially I know considering his win.
Oh, hopefully, fingers crossed for that, man.
Yes, certainly. Right, well, Amy, thank you very much for speaking to us today.
So welcome, such a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you for coming on.
And well, hopefully Barcelona's okay for you. And I know you'll be sitting and staring at your walls of your hotel, but I hope they're nice, pretty walls for you, and you've got something to keep you entertained.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to delve into some more trash TV. I like to balance my racing with real like terrible TV that I get absolutely crucified from when I try and leave dinner at like 8:30, and they're like, "You're going to go and watch Housewives, aren't you?" And I'm like, no, stop. But I like it because I switch off.
I mean, that's fair.
That's everyone's got to have something that chills them out, has a little come down.
I have to admit, I've been watching, because I'm up in Scotland again, I've been watching a lot of Outlander, which has been pretty fantastic trash TV if you ever get a chance.
What's that on?
Good question. It's on Amazon at the moment, and some of it's on all four. So,
okay, I'm gonna check that out.
But it's just quite fun and very Scottish.
Lovely.
I think, what have we just finished? Oh, we finished Cobra Kai.
Ooh, I've not heard of either of these. What's that one about?
Cobra Kai is the series spin-off of the Karate Kid.
Oh, sick!
and it is awesome. There's only 2 series. They're now going to, I think they have confirmed a 3rd series, but you can get both on Netflix. Watch it; it's amazing.
Nice. Did you guys ever watch Sons of Anarchy?
Oh, I
Oh, yes.
loved Sons of Anarchy.
So did I. Oh my god, the spin-off one wasn't as good.
Oh,
Was
I
there a
never
spin-off?
watched it because my brother loved Sons of Anarchy to the point that I think he's got 4 or 5 Sons of Anarchy tattoos, and he did tell me that mine's just wasn't the same. So at that point, I was like, nah.
It wasn't. I tried it a couple of episodes, and I was like, oh, no, this is like the spin-off Narcos ones as well, which was not quite as good either.
Yeah.
No idea there was a spin-off of. Oh,
There you go. Steve's got something else to try and watch now.
yeah. Sarah's quite a fan of the Gilmore Girls, and I can hear. Oh, she's probably in there watching it, but that'll have to go off. That's a no. I'm not that cruel.
That's very good of you, mate. I'm impressed. Dear. Right. Well, anyway, Amy, thank you very much for speaking to us. We'll let you go and get back to the housewives now.
Thanks so much, guys.
Cheers for coming on.
Yeah.
No
So
worries,
enjoy the
pleasure.
weekend, and we'll speak to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.
And thank you very much to Amy for that. That was quite the insightful chat, I think. I really enjoyed that one, actually.
That was good. I really enjoyed talking to her. She was really nice.
Yeah, definitely. And I have sat and watched a few videos of Sam, her husband, and his absolutely crazy downhill mountain biking events, including the Dark Fest, which Amy did mention during the chat. If anyone's got a few minutes, just give that a quick search on YouTube, and I think you'll be amazed, because now I'm 50% convinced I really want to be a professional mountain biker, and 50% convinced that'll put me in a coffin. So,
To be fair, the little clip Tim showed me, these guys are nuts. And yeah, the bigger balls than what I've got. Let's put it that way.
certainly.
Yeah, that did look insane. I don't know whether I'd like to have a go or not.
No, I don't think I would. I don't think I would.
I think I'd like to think that I would.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure as soon as I was at the top, I'd be like, "No, mate, you do it."
I like people to think that I'm the kind of person that would do that, whereas in reality, I'm definitely not.
I think I'll probably just say. I think I get the idea. I think I'd like to try things once just to say I've done it, but then I know I'll never be that good at it. So I'm like, yeah, once is enough.
Yeah.
Let's just try and make it to the bottom and not die, and I'll be happy with that day's work.
That's it.
But no, these guys are nuts.
Indeed. But yes, thank you very much to Amy anyway. That was
Yes,
a really great
definitely
chat, actually.
so.
A really good one. And if you guys out there listening want to say anything to us or say anything to Amy, you can find on Instagram. She'll be on there. And if you've got anything you want to say to us, you can find us on.
We are For the Love of MotoGP on Instagram and Twitter, and on Facebook now. Find a little page on there. Or you can hit us up with an email at fortheloveofmotogp.com.
At Gmail.
Gmail. There you go. I'll do it again.
Oh, mate. One day we will wrap our head around this whole technology thing that we're really trying, desperately grasping at the moment. We'll get it right one day, Steve.
It's not you, it is me.
I don't know, man. You should have seen me raging at trying to insert a YouTube banner last night onto a YouTube page. I was such an angry man.
I got it right last time out as well. That's the infuriating thing. I was saying, like, Tim was doing his little bit, and I was thinking, right, it is at gmail.com. At gmail.com. And I got it right. And if I just go with it, I'm totally obsessed with the damn website.
One day we'll get there, man. We'll get there.
Oh, doing my head in. But anyway, yes, we are For the Love of MotoGP at gmail.com.
There we go. So there it is, guys. If you want to say anything to us, do it on the email address, just so we know that whole 30 seconds of our time was not wasted.
No, that'll make me feel better.
Perfect. Right. So, yeah, thank you very much for listening, guys. And we'll be back with you very soon. Goodbye.
Take care.